Guys, welcome to another live stream from the Three Girls in Love channel. My name is Joseph Darling. I'm your host today, and we are talking today about your emotions. And this is going to be a very good one. I'm going to try and keep it short as much as possible. And on this channel, we talk about masculinity, femininity, women's emotions, female nature, everything that is involved in it in order for us to create some sort of heaven on earth for you and your life moving forward. Okay, that's the goal. So, first of all, what I want to say is masculinity and femininity, we need to define it. And today we're talking about women, not about men and their masculinity and femininity. We're talking about women now. So, masculinity is to be burdened. Femininity is to be unburdened, carefree, not have to worry about anything, not have to worry about like any fears, worries of like anything bad, basically. If you are in your feminine nature, everything's wonderful, everyone's accepting of you, everyone's positive all of the time, no one rejects you, everyone is just like, it's just wonderful. Life is just amazing all of the freaking time. Okay, so if we understand that that's femininity, that's where we want to be for women, okay? Because if you're in that circumstance, it's everything's awesome, right? So you see, that would be heaven for you. If that is unburdened, then our goal should be to help you to become as unburdened as possible starting now, if possible. Okay? That's not very realistic, is it? However, that's rational to think about on a theoretical standpoint. If everything was perfect in your life, if you were accepted, if you were loved, if you were appreciated, if you were listened to, if you were all of the things that I've written down here, okay, I'm talking about environment. If everything was absolutely amazing in your life, then that would attract more amazing things into your life. Do you understand? It's not like when things are amazing, you attract bad things. Okay, sometimes you feel like that's how it is. If you're very burdened, masculine, that means that when amazing things are happening to you, you're like your radar starts going and you're like, oh, I don't deserve this, which means that bad things are gonna happen soon, but I don't want bad things to happen, but I need to keep it to myself because or else then you know, people are gonna think that bad things are gonna happen, and then bad things actually usually very often do happen, and that's what we call self-sabotage, right? And you end up not having the thing that you enjoyed for a long period of time. However, that's because you're burdened, and you've been burdened over a long period of time, and then that causes self-sabotage in the present when good things come about. But if you are feminine, and you have been unburdened continuously, and you have been unrejected on a continual basis from the big things, okay, life is gonna come, life, you know, things happen, and you know, it's difficult. Some things are difficult, but if you are unburdened and feminine, you actually are excited to take care of your needs and to take care of other people's needs if they're not that big of a problem. If there are things that you know how to solve, you'll be excited to solve it for other people, because that will build your self-worth and you'll return the environment to an amazing environment. Okay? When women are masculine, they're burdened, they don't have capacity, and when problems come on top of that, then they have even less capacity, right? Because then they're trying to diversify their attention from this problem, but I also have this problem, and I also have this problem, and now it's too much. You come to a point when there's just too much crap going on, right? Do you have capacity at that point? No. Do you believe that you can solve all your problems at that point? No. How do you feel about yourself during that time frame? Not very good. Masculinity, burdened. Femininity, unburdened. Everything is simple. Everything is awesome. Everything is amazing. And I attract more of it. And when simple rejections come along the way, which is a good thing because, you know, there's progression. And also, You want rejection in some ways. If you've noticed that, you actually are seeking out ways for you to not be rejected, but things that are difficult, things that are hard. You want to run towards that. That's a good thing as long as you choose that rejection. Do you understand what I mean? Like, you choose the thing that is exciting. Like, for example, hobbies, talents, becoming good at playing the guitar or whatever it is. If you are fired up, excited about it, it's no longer a burden. It's a burden that you're fired up and excited about. So it's a good rejection in a sense. But very often the problems that women are having in today's world are not those kinds. Maybe in the beginning stage of their life, like their teenage years and in their early 20s, everything is awesome, right? Until they begin to get heaped upon them the responsibilities of life and life being crap and people not caring, etc., etc., etc. And suddenly everything's horrible. So you understand now that this is an environmental thing. Femininity is environmental. Environmental creatures, which means perfect environment. Oh, everything is awesome, and more awesome things are coming. Sucky environment, a bad environment, guess what? More bad things, more problems are going to happen, and very often, because of those bad problems, instant gratification starts happening. And I want to just take a minute to explain why that is. Okay, hold on, let's see. The reason why this happens, instant gratification, is because femininity is your inherent nature as a woman, so you'll always want to return back to it somehow. You want to return back to your unburdened state, your carefree state, as fast as possible if you are in a burdened state. So you might not have consciously experienced this, but you'll notice it from this moment onwards, maybe. You begin to think about it. It's gonna happen. You're very burdened, and then what do you start doing? Well, you want to feel good emotions fast, very quickly. So, for example, if a woman feels burdened throughout her entire week, what is she excited about? She's excited about the weekend. Okay, maybe not during this, Corona's time, but in general, women are excited about the weekend because they can do the things that they want to do and not what their boss wants them to do. Do you understand? So they basically are fired up about the weekend, because they'll be unburdened, right? They'll be fired up about alcohol because what happens when you drink alcohol? You return back to who you truly are in many aspects, okay? The truth comes out. Your femininity comes out. Your carefree nature comes out. All of those nice fuzzy feelings comes out. But they're an issue because they create problems after the fact. Do you understand what I mean? You don't have any problems when you're drunk, right? Everything's wonderful then. But then afterwards, you get the crap, right? And it's all those instant gratifications that are happening. When you're massively burdened, you return back to your femininity as much as possible. And it's a bad thing if it's instant gratification, because instant gratification, very often, most often, 95% of the time, there are some instant gratifications that are good, but usually they are a result of patience and delayed gratification. But they're instant in the sense that they come in the moment and they make you feel absolutely amazing, to have amazing, intense emotions. However, we're not talking about that now. We're talking about unhealthy stuff that's going to exponentially decline your health, decline your lifestyle, and make things worse, right? So, if we understand now the environmental aspect of it, when women are in a bad, masculine, competitive, difficult, a lot of rejection, burden environment, they're going to strive to return and want to be in as a feminine or back to their feminine nature of being unburdened, carefree, etc., etc. So instant gratification is going to be the thing that makes them survive. Instant gratification is the thing that causes masculinity to survive, but in the long run, it causes them to die more quickly. So we know that. But femininity, if they're unburdened, continuously carefree, everything's wonderful, guess what? They run towards masculinity. They run towards responsibility. They run towards good responsibility, if that makes sense. My belief is that all women are 100% perfect, amazing, and good. You don't believe me because you think that you have all these horrible thoughts. You feel that you have like all this horrible self-worth, that you have dark thoughts, and that sometimes you think that you wish you could kill someone, right? Don't tell anyone this, but I know what's going on. Sometimes you wish that you have a partner and you feel really bad, guilty, and shame, but you want to have sex with that guy instead. Like right now, preferably. Okay? Like you have those evil thoughts, but they're not evil. It's simply your emotions taking you to that spot. It's horrific if you act on it, obviously, right? Because of cheating, because of murder, because of all the obvious reasons why you shouldn't act on the emotions and thoughts that you sometimes have. But the more burdened and masculine you become, the more you enter into that headspace. The more you enter into those bad aspects of life. And it's scary. And that's when people begin to see that women are crazy. Like, women are this, that, and the other. And they begin to judge women based upon their behavior. Instead of looking at where do they come from? What was their environment? What has caused this? How many men have rejected this woman? How many times has she been abused and left behind and rejected, etc., etc., that has caused her to become who she is today? It's completely environmental, and it's different from men. It's completely different because us men have been given 10 to 12 times more testosterone for a reason. For us to be able to control our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors consistently over the long term if we want to. But very often men are not disciplined, so it looks like they're less in control than women are. But if men actually put in effort to control themselves, they do it easily, consistently, because their emotions are not as intense if they actually work on it, if they work on controlling themselves. Okay, women, not so much. Because the more you try to control yourself, the less you're able to control yourself. And why is that? Because of habit. And habit, you got to understand that it takes at least 3 to 4 weeks to set up a habit. But guess what happens every single 4th week? Your PMS, right? Your period. It happens. What happens during that time? You involuntarily become burdened. Burdened beyond your capacity if you have all the other responsibilities and capacities of life. You see how all of this is tied together in order for you to not be consistent. The universe has put in the system that causes you to not be consistent. Consistency is the key to achieve long-term success. Okay, and I'm talking about worldly success now. If everything is in your environment is absolutely amazing, and everything is wonderful, and you only have loving people, kind people, and accepting people, and listening people, and you're healthy, and your health is wonderful, like, then it's not that big of a problem to have your PMS and your period. Because everything's wonderful. Everything is awesome. And this is just the natural flushing thing of me not having a child this month, right? And it just exits. And that's it. And now I start afresh with a new month. And I didn't have to worry about all my responsibilities and all of the things, demands that people have on me because they're expecting me to be a man in today's society. It's a very bad idea for women to try to do the things that men do because you'll try to compete even though you are at a massive disadvantage. Maybe not in today's world, because very often you care more about success than men do. Notice that? And you care more about success in the sense that you are more ambitious, more fired up about achieving success when you're very young. and because you have capacity, you run towards responsibility, remember? And what happens then is that you come to this point of burden, and then you start hitting the wall, and you hit a wall again. And men out there, you compete against them, but you win over them because they don't care. They have no ambitions, no need, nothing. Why? That's another story for another day. But we got to understand that men and women are different. Men don't care much, but they're only ambitious enough in order for them to get women. That's the only reason why men are interested in success at all in the first place. Also because they want to master something and they want to, have power and all that stuff. But a lot of that is just tied in to women, really. Sexual gratification for men. That's why they get the drive. That's why they get the fire under their ass. Okay? For a woman, she simply cares. So anyway, going back to what I'm trying to really explain is the emotional expression aspect of things. We now know femininity is environmental. Let's move on to the next aspect, which is, I explained the positive and negative environment, but I didn't really go into it as much. Okay, so, in your teenage years, okay, let's talk about positive and negative environment now. Your emotions is alpha omega at all times and all places throughout your life. Your emotions will tell you what's going on. It will give you immediate feedback, but sometimes that immediate feedback of what your emotions are telling you is very bad for the long term. Okay? Sometimes your emotions being absolutely intense and fantastic could be good for the long term if that environment would stick for the long term. But very often it doesn't. So let me explain. In your teenage years, maybe you had some falling outs with your parents. Why? Because they didn't want you to do specific things because they wanted to protect you from bad things. Okay? But they used force, most probably, in order to achieve their ends. What happens when you are forced? What happens when any person is forced? Okay? To do that which they don't want to do, or to not do the things that they do want to do. It feels wrong. It feels like no, this is not correct that they're telling me to do something or they're telling me not to do something. That doesn't go well with my emotions. Do you recognize that? Do you remember all those things that happened in your teenage years? You do not like to be told what not to do. Very often if you want to exactly do the thing that you're told not to do. Happens all the time. When this happens, what you feel is like you feel like you're in a negative environment. When you were in front of your parents and they forced you or told you what to not do or told you what to do, you felt you were in a negative environment. Your emotions were telling you, this is a negative environment. I don't like this environment. This is bad. I'm being burdened. Very interesting, very important. So parents are making their daughters masculine, but sometimes that's necessary in order for them to be protected from the long-term destruction, from the long-term consequences of their actions in their teenage years and in their 20s especially, right? Very often has to do with boys. And if there's no father around, pretty much you might have been just allowed to do whatever you wanted to do because, your mother maybe grew up being forced and now she just wants you to do whatever you want to do because emotions are important. Okay, so let's negative environment, but really it kind of was an important environment for you in order for you to not go through the crap that you ended up going through. So you ended up going to a good environment where people made you feel good. Let me explain how that works. So a positive environment is an environment where you feel loved, where you feel accepted, where you feel nurtured, where you feel included, where you feel attention given, okay? Where you feel respected, okay? Where you feel cared for, where you feel listened to, where you feel like you belong. Okay, this could be a false signal. Imagine you coming to a group that basically are kind of outcasts or they're people who want you to do something. They have an agenda. Let's say, for example, you get a boyfriend. Okay? Now, boyfriends are good because they give you all of the things that I just mentioned here, right? But if you don't give him what he wants, right? There's a conditional love going on there. Maybe. That conditional love means that maybe if you don't do as I tell you to do, suddenly it becomes a negative environment. Boom, it goes from good environment immediately over to a negative environment. What's the negative environment? Well, the fact that you're ignored, or rejected, or neglected, or excluded, or disrespected, or uncared for, or don't talk to me, or do you understand what I mean? That is the shift between good environment and bad environment continuously. That's a very, very scary thing when you think about that, because you were in a good environment with your parents and they were trying to protect you, but that felt bad. So you went away from that bad environment in order to get into a good environment, which was maybe your boyfriend or a gang or some people who loved you, okay? Temporarily, conditional love, but then when you don't do what they want you to do and follow their agenda, then they begin to put you out of the group and don't want to talk to you and don't do this, that, and the other. This could have happened in a multitude of ways throughout your youth, okay? I'm not just talking about one thing. But that was a good environment, but it ended up becoming bad because of femininity. So, right, the feminine aspect of things is that it's based upon what they feel in the moment and whether you do the thing that they ask you to do or not. Unconditional love really, truly is a masculine thing. That's a decision that is made, okay? And the decision means cutting off all other options. Unconditional love is a masculine thing. A woman or femininity does not have unconditional love. It's impossible. It's based upon preset conditions. A woman that says, I'm going to love you forever, I'm going to do everything for you forever, you can know for a fact as a man, okay, I'm talking to men for a quick second, it's not legit. It's what she feels in the moment. But guess what? Those emotions that she has in that moment are intense. And that intensity makes her feel like this is going to last forever. Obviously, it won't, most probably, because men suck. And so when they don't meet the conditions all of the time, consistently over a long period of time, that makes her feel those emotions all of the time, then guess what's going to happen? She's going to fall out of love, and then suddenly the conditions are not met anymore, and there's no unconditional love. So let me talk about the thing that I really wanted to talk about, which is thoughts are things. Now, this is going to go completely in line with everything that I've just spoken about now, so pay attention. Thoughts are things, meaning there's an exponential growth curve to every single thought. But it depends if it's fertilized and nurtured and given what it needs in order to grow. Every thought has an exponential growth curve. Every thought is a thing. What do I mean by that? It means that once the seed is planted, okay, let's say you suddenly get a thought in your head. It could be a positive thought, it could be a negative thought. But most often, you'll notice there are negative thoughts, okay? Negative self-talk, negative things about what you want to do to other people, or things that you know will have bad consequences to them. That is what happens the most and most often when you're masculine. When you're feminine, you only have good thoughts. You're only excited about life. When you're feminine, when everything's wonderful. Okay? You see the difference with the environmental aspect. Good environment, perfect environment. Wow, women are perfect. Women are not. Like, they're based upon their environment. Now, you put yourself into a masculine environment, or you simply being the environment, if you're masculine, then you're going to attract negative thoughts and bad thoughts. And you're going to try and be positive, but that doesn't work consistently, does it? Okay? It's only lip service. It's fake. When women are very often trying to be positive and trying to do this, and they're trying to be disciplined about positivity, when you don't see them, they're negative. They have negative self-talk. They have this, that, and the other, and it's darkness. Okay? Women are never positive on a consistent, continual basis if they're masculine or hybrids. Hybrids meaning that they're masculine and feminine all the time. It's impossible. And they believe that it's impossible to consistently be happy. You know, it's my mother asking me, "Are you like, how are you? Are you happy?" And I'm like, I'm always happy. Like I tell her, I'm happy. I'm excited. Life's fantastic. And she's like, "Really? Are you sure?" Because she doesn't understand the aspect that she's a woman and she will not consistently feel fantastic all of the time. I'm a man. I can. Okay? Now it's unfair, right? But this is how the design is. However, remember what I've said in previous videos, that whoever is first shall be last and whoever is last should be first. Meaning, once we actually move towards the truth and the truth becomes established and we establish the good environment for women, then women will become the first in the sense that they have way more intentions. They have way more intense emotions than men do. In a positive, perfect, amazing environment, that works in women's favor. And understand that eternity is longer than this short span that we call life. Eventually, women will be able to enter into that space of eternity where they have heaven continuously. Then they have pleasure and intense positive emotions forever. Okay? This short space right here, they're last in many aspects. They don't have to be if we apply the correct principles, but that's very often what happens. But long term, women will be the ones that benefit the most from the way that the universe has set things up. Understand this. This life is just a short time frame compared to the eternal aspect of things. Okay, and it's not a religious type of talk. This is how it is. Okay, so if we look at, where did I go again? Thoughts are things. Okay, consistency. Women be able to. Okay, what happens in terms of negative emotions? You got the negative emotion for a woman. It gets in there, a negative thought, okay, or a thought to do something very bad, or whatever it is, or just simply a fear. It could be a fear or worry about something that you don't want to have happen, but it's a thought. It's come into you, and thoughts are things. So you believe very often, because of your intense emotions, you might have intense emotions about the thought that you just got. You know, maybe it's a nightmare, or maybe it's a feeling that you have during the day, and it feels real, because that's what your emotions are telling you that it is, okay? Rationally, though, it's just the thought, and then most probably will never, ever, ever transpire, right? 99.99999% of thoughts that we have don't transpire. However, let me explain to you the exponential growth curve that happens. If you nurture it and fertilize it, but the thing is, guess what? You don't have a choice very often. If you are massively burdened, you do not have capacity, you do not have a choice or the ability to stop this thought from continuing its growth curve. It's an exponential growth curve that grows without your permission or with your permission. It doesn't matter. If you are in a feminine environment where you don't have any burdens and you're carefree and everything's wonderful, it is easy for you as a woman to control your emotions. It is easy for you as a woman to choose to not have that thought. If you are unburdened, if you're massively burdened, you don't have any capacity, you've been told by society to become a man in the aspects of focus and discipline and this, that, and the other, you cannot control the trajectory of that exponential growth. So what ends up happening? Well, you get the aspect of that thought growing and growing and growing. What happens? The emotions are still as intense as they were in the past. Maybe they've even grown in intensity. And unless they are vented, unless the pressure cooker takes off the lid, even if it's just speaking it, okay, and this happens naturally, by the way, if women are just allowed to speak how they truly feel and express their true emotions, that will give immediate feedback, okay, to the person that is responsible. Hopefully that's the man, right? The trustworthy man that she has in her vicinity, she's able to vent, she's able to get it out of her system, and the man does not take her seriously. This is important. If she takes him, if he takes her seriously, then he'll be like, whoa, 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 no, like that's dangerous, and this is this, and how could you think those thoughts about that and the other? Okay? Then he begins to reject her, and then he puts her in a worse environment. Do you understand what I mean? Like, she already is self-rejecting herself, self-loathing herself, and then the man rejects her on top of that for stating the things that she states, whether they're gonna happen or not. Most probably they're not going to happen, because very often women are fearful of the consequences of doing things unless they have so intense emotions that they can't control themselves. Women don't, there's a lot of thick crap that women do that they wish they had not done, but their emotions, it's almost as if they're drunk. Okay? You can compare it to that aspect, because the intense emotions that women have are as intense or even more intense than when they're drunk. Because it forces them to do something that maybe they don't even want to do. If you begin to understand female nature, this is what we're figuring out. Venting and expressing one's emotion, even if it is just like explaining it from an oral standpoint of explaining it. Just getting it out of your system. That's not going to cause it to happen. That's masculine. Masculinity is what we speak. That's going to transpire, because what we speak for men, that becomes nurtured and fertilized, and that becomes an exponential growth curve towards taking action on the things that we speak. If we're masculine. Okay, masculinity is to do that which you have said you will do, right? Femininity is very often yapping, and then no action happening. Have you noticed? But for women, it's the opposite. You're the opposite gender. Which means that if you vent and get it out of your system, now you feel better. Now everything's okay. It's back to normal now. I feel a lot better. Thank you for understanding. That was really nice. I want you to be able to vent and express your emotions to people who you trust and who will not judge you for the horrific thoughts that you have. Masculine women have so many secrets because they dare not speak it to anyone. And if they don't speak it to anyone, it'll remain in here. Why do you think women use doctors so much, and use psychiatrists so much, and use psychologists so much, and all that crap that women are using? Because they're too far on the exponential growth phase of insanity. Because they've been trying to suppress all these thoughts and emotions that they've had for years. Years that they've not been able to explain or share with anyone, because everyone is judgmental. Everyone believes that what one says, that's going to transpire. No, it's not. Okay, and the masculine man knows this. And he can receive your crap and not care. He just funnels it out, because he knows that as you vent, as you get it out of your system from a speaking aspect, it's out. It's not continuing as a thought, because you just needed to get it out. Okay? And if you don't, then the emotions, you're fertilizing the thought. You're fertilizing not your fault. This is not your fault. But your de facto solution should be that you are sharing everything with only the few key trustworthy people in your life. Okay? And have them watch this video so they understand. It's a bit long video again. I always do this. But it's so powerful principles. And when I get into it, you get so much value from this. If you understand how this works, it's not your fault. It's never been your fault. You are an environmental creature, and that's okay. And guess what? We want you to remain in that state, because if you don't remain in that state, okay, then bad things are going to happen. You're going to become masculine. You're going to attract negativity, and you begin to actually attract stuff. Okay, let's, for example, I'll give you an example. It's a personal example. But when my son was like 2 years old or something, then we did not understand this, but this happened. Okay, my wife was keeping everything inside, everything is secret, being massively burdened by me, my fault. Everything is my fault if I marry someone and if I'm together with a woman. Everything is my fault as a man. So she went through a lot of crap, did not open to me about it, did not explain things to me about it. Not her fault for doing so, because she was scared that I would reject her, that I would not love her, that I would, get her out of the system, etc., etc. And one time he fell and hit his head, right? And he had to go to the hospital, and a lot of crap happened because of that event. Whose fault was that? It was mine. But what happened? Guess what? The exponential trajectory of negative emotion, of fears, of worries, of a lot of crap is going to happen, had been in her mind for a long period of time, and it was building the pressure cooker. What eventually happens? Accidents, bad things, unluck, okay? It happens like that. That's how it works. It's kind of almost like voodoo crap, okay? But it's not. It's just simply how the universe works. We attract things with intense emotions. And if you have negative, intense emotions, you're going to attract more of those things that produce these intense, crappy emotions. One of the purposes of life is for us to figure that out and to help women to come to the point where they only have a positive environment surrounding them, so that they themselves don't have to worry, don't have to fear anything. They're protected and provided for. Guess what? That's the role of a man. And he automatically does it, okay, if he's masculine. If a man is masculine, he protects and provides. If a woman's feminine, she naturally nurtures automatically and is good and seeks to alleviate the needs of others. Okay? So if we understand all of this, we can begin to understand that, and I'll finish with this, prevention is the key. How do you prevent bad things from happening? Is to make sure that those thoughts don't enter into one's brain at all in the first place, right? There should be no thoughts of what you want, like of bad things happening in the first place. But you can't choose that as a woman. It's environmental. It's stimulus. It's coming into your brain. And the only way to stop that is to make sure that there is a wonderful, amazing environment of wonderful people around. You can't stop everything that's happening, but the more feminine you become, the more you're able to stop bad things from coming to you as thoughts or as other negative people coming into your life or all that stuff. Do you understand what I mean? You'll be able to control your environment a lot more when you're feminine and unburdened, carefree, because then you can make sure that you're continuously more and more unburdened and carefree, and then only run towards the responsibilities and cares that you want to run towards. That's the goal of life. For men to help women to be as unburdened and as free and carefree as possible, and allow them to vent and express their negative emotions to him so he can receive it and then funnel it out somewhere else without judging, without intensifying the argument or whatever. Men can receive blows and be fine, okay? It's very difficult amongst women, but that's why it's important that women always blame the man. And that's basically the prevention aspect of things. Last thing, again, monogamy does not cut it. Why? Because a woman, when she is homeschooling, taking care of kids, she is continuously rejected by her kids on a continuous basis. And it's not her kids doing it on purpose, it's their needs. Kids have a lot of emotional needs, not only physical, but emotional needs. And if you neglect those emotional needs, it is pretty much as if you are physically harming them, okay? Because it becomes trauma, and that trauma joins them throughout their life. As a woman, you want to be as carefree and as unburdened as possible, and allow the man to go out there and to provide and to protect so that he can create an amazing environment for you. And if you do that, then you'll have capacity, but not enough capacity for someone else. Maybe you're able to take care of the man. That's it. If, and maybe some animals, if you're single and if you don't have any kids, if you're just with him and the animals. But once the kids come into the world, oh my gosh, that's when the problems arise. And that's when you want to begin to funnel them towards someone else. Give them to kindergarten. Give them to the school. I can't take it. Okay? But that's the problem. This is why Three Girls in Love, one of the huge reasons that Three Girls in Love, as explained on this channel, is for women and children. Not so much for the man, even though he is automatically rewarded for the efforts that he puts out and for taking all of the blame in that relationship, right? The women need other women so that they can have a constant, never-ending positive environment of, what did I say earlier? Loving, accepting, nurturing, including, attention-giving, respectful, caring, listening, etc., and healthy delayed gratification. But there needs to be gratification. That is automatic in the Three Girls in Love society, in Three Girls in Love relationship, because the man takes all of the blame. The girls are feminine, okay? Talking about 18 plus now, of course. They're feminine. And when they're feminine, they're unburdened, carefree, and are able to live in harmony one with another. This is the Three Girls in Love channel. My name is Joseph Darling. I will see you in the next one.